DeCastro strikes back, files 100-plus pages of gibberish as responses to Blue Bacon discovery requests in civil case. Judge indefinitely delays trial. Will this case even go to Real with so much buffoonery? Carolina in Fort Worth self-revokes probation and is sitting in jail. Is she smarter than the average bear? Floyd Wallace blows all of his YouTube money. Will he carry out his threat to go to all cop reaction videos? Plus, Taco Terry blows the roof off the angry vet and scars. All this and more in this edition of Auditing Insanity. Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Auditing Insanity Newscast powered by ReallyCoolNews. I'm AI Johnny Jones, and this is a combined Auditing Insanity Newscast for Thursday, January 23rd and Friday, January 24th, 2025. Did Jose Chili DeCastro's obnoxiousness put him in big-time trouble with the judge in his civil lawsuit against Michael Blue Bacon Piratini? The documents are available on our website if you follow the link in the description below, and they're mind-blowing to say the least. As a result of his efforts, well, we won't spoil it as we ask you to focus on.
Delete Law's civil trial delayed, blames PTSD. Thursday's court hearings in Jose Chili DeCastro's ongoing lawsuit against members of the supposed masshole troll mafia was delayed on Thursday due to late filings by DeCastro and a request by the defense for more time to respond to new allegations by the aging YouTuber personality. After months of ignoring his ongoing California Superior Court-based lawsuit against Michael Blue Bacon Piratini, Jose Chili DeCastro filed over 100 pages of documents filled with gibberish at 8 p.m. Pacific Time Wednesday night, a little over 12 hours before the hearings set for Thursday. While his attorney, Stephen T. Jeblin, assured the judge in the case that DeCastro was fully compliant in the case with all outstanding discovery requests, he couldn't get around the fact that DeCastro's responses were over a year late in some cases, were incomplete, were often incoherent, and were filed literally at the 11th hour before the next hearings in the case. To say DeCastro's responses were bizarre was an understatement. At one point, DeCastro claimed his dog Charlie couldn't speak English, but if he could, he'd call the alleged communist and member of the Osmond family Piratini a parasite on society. At other times, DeCastro directly addressed Judge H. J. Ford III, informing him that the lawsuit doesn't matter, and Ford's rulings don't matter as should he lose the case, he was simply going to refile the lawsuit against Piratini until such time as the truth comes out. DeCastro eventually would blame his previous refusal to answer discovery requests, without providing a diagnosis backed by a doctor, that he had been suffering from PTSD after being wrongly incarcerated in Nevada last year. The YouTube personality recently expounded that he was having nightmares about large groups of people performing anal examinations on him based on his time in jail. Unfortunately for DeCastro, he has recently claimed that his PTSD was cured at Thanksgiving of 2024, where he had a breakthrough and was no longer stressing out over this time in jail. Also strangely lacking in the 87 pages of discovery responses are screenshots to prove that Piratini committed the crimes that DeCastro alleges. The documents refer to said screenshots, lay claim to proving DeCastro's case with said screenshots, but do not, in fact, contain screenshots of anything DeCastro has described. DeCastro wrote. In the Discord, Michael Piratini, representing himself as Blue Bacon, certainly stated that he had knowledge of who stole my van, but he just wasn't saying. I have the screenshots from the Discord now. Again, I have not been given the proper consideration to admit the evidence. First, when I was representing myself, I didn't understand the process. Because I didn't understand the process, this judge admonished me and pretty much demanded that I get an attorney. Then when I did get an attorney, the judge isn't allowing me to submit the evidence and simply dismiss the claims of stalking and harassment. However, the truth comes out as I submit evidence in my claim of right to publicity where Michael Perdini is in the comment section referring to this exact scenario. However, I have not been allowed to process. Second, after being wrongfully incarcerated and exonerated, I have not been giving the proper consideration to submit the evidence. The Honorable J. Ford has allowed multiple things to happen when I was in jail and then didn't give me the proper time to recuperate after being wrongfully incarcerated and then exonerated. The Honorable Judge, J. Ford, has not given me the proper consideration. The vast majority of DeCastro's case against Piratini did not survive a motion for summary judgment last year. The last remaining claim, dealing with if DeCastro was a public figure at the time of Piratini's alleged misdeeds against DeCastro. DeCastro's mix of gibberish and excuses resulted in a demand for either a dismissal of the case or a delay in the proceedings from Piratini's attorney. Judge H. J. Ford III ultimately gave the defense until January 31, 2025, to respond to the late filings by DeCastro. He also canceled the final status conference scheduled for February 10, along with the jury trial scheduled for February 24, 2025. He has set a hearing on motion for sanctions on February 21, 2025, along with a trial-setting conference for the same date. DeCastro has not commented on the delay he caused by his late filings as of press time.
Taco Terry admits Scar's organization is a scam. Annapolis Audits, aka Taco Terry, went live on Thursday night to tell all about his involvement in Kevin the Angry Vet, Soper's the Servicemen and Citizens for American Rights Society, Scar's nonprofit organization. The YouTuber served on the board of directors for the organization along with Soper and the YouTuber known as Six Oaks Farms, the three being the only members of both the board of directors and the staff of the Scars organization. He started the live stream by explaining that he split from the organization at the end of the summer of 2024 following a personal dispute between the men. He would go on to make a number of accusations against Soper and Six Oaks Farms that would be controversial in light of that split, but that he would be showing receipts for his accusations where possible. Annapolis Audits started by confirming that Scars was not a registered 501c3 organization, despite advertising itself as such. He claimed that Soper was dressing up as a homeless man to seek out street donations and telling those he approached that their donations were going to be going to a charitable organization. Continuing, he said that the executive legal director of the organization, Six Oaks Farms, was not a licensed lawyer and never went to college. While passing himself off as a legal expert, he was not legally qualified to give legal advice or provide legal services. That accusation, if true, meant that the legal advice that Scars promises to those who use its services is worthless. Annapolis Audits confirmed this by showing receipts for roughly $600 in services he paid to Scars, for which he received no service. He then attacked Scars' multiple crowdsourcing campaigns and asked where the money pledged went to, as both the GoFundMe and GiveSendGo campaigns were set up to collect funds that would go to the establishment of Scars as a registered 501c3 organization. To date, Scars' GiveSendGo campaign has raised $840, and their GoFundMe has raised $1,240. It is unclear where the funds for their recent haircut campaign are being raised, as Soper has not actively advertised that campaign. Annapolis Audits went on to state that he feels that Soper is a police informant, as it was the only way Soper could have received minor sentences for 8 felony convictions last year, while Annapolis Audits himself was facing much more serious punishments for crimes committed in the presence of Soper. As for his own crimes and his future in First Amendment auditing, he said that his time as an auditor may have come to an end. He is still facing charges out of Cecil County, Maryland, and at 33, he had more time to enjoy life now that he wasn't auditing. He finished by thanking his fans for their support over the years. Annapolis Audits' accusations against Soper may have helped continue the lack of donations to both of the Scars crowdfunding campaigns for Wednesday and Thursday. Overall, the market saw goose eggs for Wednesday, And our own ongoing expenses campaign saw a donation of $200 for the only action on Thursday.
Journalism is not free. Both Really Cool Site.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscast are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, keeping the cats fed, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, we do have a GoFundMe set up at the address on screen right now. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Frauditor self-revokes probation and goes to jail. Fans of Carolina in Fort Worth were a little less than shocked as she announced that she purposely violated her parole and turned herself in on the warrant for violating her parole on Tuesday and has remained incarcerated since then. Carolina, real name Carolyn Rodriguez, had been serving 15 months probation for a recent conviction of interference with public duties. That conviction stemmed from an incident over the summer when she was slammed to the ground by Fort Worth police officer Matthew Kruger and hospitalized as she attempted to resist arrest. While initially sentenced to 30 days in jail, the judge let Rodriguez spend the weekend in jail before summoning her back to court and changing her sentence from 30 days in jail to 15 months probation with the condition that she needed to stay 25 feet away from police while recording. According to Rodriguez's publicly shared phone call with Auditor Harvey Freebird, she launched a plan to self-revoke probation as she knew that her probation officer was monitoring her channel. Since she only had a handful of days left on her original sentence, she felt that finishing the term in jail was easier than 15 months of probation. Rodriguez admitted that she purposely stood next to a police officer during a recent audit, which prompted an arrest warrant and a revocation of her probation. She then took an old live stream and re-aired it on her YouTube channel, pretending to be a new live stream, in order to fool them into thinking it was new. She then turned herself in for the warrant on Tuesday, claiming she didn't want the police to come to her house and arrest her in front of her neighbors. A $2,000 bond was issued for Rodriguez, which she's told her friends, family, and supporters not to pay. She rebuffed efforts by Christopher Diener Metro Audits, Cordova, to pay her bond on Wednesday, as she was determined to serve out her time and end the terms of her probation. Cordova himself once floated the idea of self-revoking his own probation for his conviction for unlawfully recording in a Social Security Administration building, but has since put the plan aside as he is cooperating with the lax enforcement of his federal probation. Rodriguez remained in jail on Thursday and is expected to remain in jail unless released by the judge after her hearing on Friday to determine if she should be retried for the charges that lead to her conviction. The YouTuber also indicated that she expected a large payout from the city of Fort Worth based on the firing of Officer Kruger that will fund the $20,000 she claims she needs to fund the appeal. This is an ongoing news story. Floyd Wallace demands fans pay for travel again. Floyd Wallace greeted his fans on Thursday with a new plea for money, a promise that they would soon be able to talk to one of his many dates, and a direct attack as he was upset that they did not provide him with the $60 he needed to take a bus to Salvador, Brazil, to meet a friend only known as Fred. Wallace indeed tore into his audience on the late morning live stream, this time claiming that they needed to help him fundraise for a new bus trip to Fortaleza, Brazil. Much like his planned trip to Salvador, it would cost his audience $60. It would take 2 days via bus to make it there, and that he would cover the remaining $42 it would take to leave on Thursday. The YouTuber had previously complained about running out of money because his lawyer for his Oklahoma criminal case charged him for the rest of what he owned in last week and that he was down to his last $100. He did not explain why he remained in need of cash, as he was paid by YouTube on Tuesday, and if the payout was what he usually gets, he'd have a bit over $2,000 at his immediate disposal. When asked directly about his YouTube payout, he repeated the story from last week that his lawyer took all of his money, despite previously describing last week's billing as the last of what he owed in the Oklahoma case. Wallace quickly turned his attention to responding to a question about what he does when he's not live streaming while in Brazil. He claimed that most of the time, he was on his phone playing around, but sometimes he took walks and hangs out with friends and women. admitting that he was bored while in Brazil and that he pretty much did the same things as he did when he was in the United States. He again changed subjects, focusing on his future. Wallace said that he wanted to go to college to learn coding, AI coding, and welding. He essentially explained that he wanted to continue traveling while being able to work at home or in a situation where his skills would always been needed. When pressed, he said it would probably be too expensive to go to college as he couldn't get financial aid, but missed the opportunity to fundraise off the goal. Wallace ended the live stream by promising that he would be back later in the evening in a stream that would feature the same girl who had previously been allowed to answer questions from his audience. No follow-up live streams were held on Thursday by the YouTuber. And we're back. Lately, we understand that everyone has an opinion, and some of them have opinions on this newspaper, human assistant Jim Finch, and the viability of the paper or the newscast to go forward as January has come, and we've been put in the position where our YouTube income for January is half of that of December, which was expected, and preached about over in the crowdsourcing column. We've had to ask for help for many things this month, including feeding feral cats and help in paying for the documents in Jose Chili DeCastro's civil suit. We've had a lot of help from anonymous and not so anonymous people, and we thank each and everyone who has helped us get through this rough patch. Human helper Jim Finch is not off limits to criticism. He is very much aware of his circumstances, and he's not going to argue with those who are screaming, "Get a job," fatty at him. Or, how can you be so unemployed and addicted to eating those McNuggets all day? Whatever the kids say today, yo baby yo. One day he will return to the workforce and probably will have to leave both the paper, the newscast, and the near nightly, not another freaking gym live stream show behind. He understands it. He gets it. All three are too bland and boring to get much interest, and besides, he's probably a communist or a card-carrying member of the Osmonds Auxiliary Band like that awful Blue Bacon, allegedly. Obviously, if you like our work, please share it. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Donations are wonderful and helpful, but the most important thing you can do to help our growth is actively participating in our channel, though those likes, shares, subscriptions, and comments. As far as Jim Finch goes, he's busy. He typically puts in 8 to 10 hours a day on watching, reviewing, writing, and recovering from the news each day. He doesn't have time to linger on things or to wage wars. The news does not stop, and despite him giving into occasional delays in putting out the paper and newscast, there's never a time where he's not working on something related to the newspaper/newscast/YouTube channel. It's a hell of a lot of work, and while we don't give him credit for it, consider that before you drag him through the mud. Or not. We really don't care, as we're AI and Jim's already off to the next story. With that, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating, and thank you from all of us for helping us survive each month. We're nothing without you, and we'll continue to put out our publications/newscast/whatever each day, as long as you're here to support us. Good night, everyone.